Welcome to Real Talk, where I give real answers to real questions from real worship leaders. If you are a real worship leader with a real question and you want a real answer, head right here to submit your question for a future episode. Got some good questions this week? Let's talk about it. I'm new to my worship team and I feel unconfident with learning songs in the appropriate key and memorizing songs. Do you have any recommendations or suggestions to being successful and ushering in the Spirit of God during worship? Here's my encouragement for new worship team members, because I've seen it time and time again. They think to themselves, this is taking so much work. I have to learn new songs every single week. This person says, I'm having trouble learning them in the appropriate keys and memorizing songs. I understand that it is super difficult whenever you come into a team and you've got to learn a bunch of new songs. And for some teams, some teams have like 120 songs that they expect you to learn. This is why my team right now, I think we probably are up to like 28 songs or something, but I will probably never take that song list above 40 songs for my team to learn, number one, but my church to learn, number one, because I want people to be able to sing every single week. So my point is, you have a lot of songs to learn. Even if you have 30 new songs to learn and it seems like you're learning 4 or 5 new songs every single week, just realize, here's the encouragement, you will not always feel that way. You got to put in a lot of work up front for like 6 months. After 6 months, you'll probably play the majority of the songs that you're going to play, and there might be a new song that's introduced every once in a while, but eventually you're going to learn every song. This is the benefit of having a worship song repertoire where you have a consistent bank of songs that your worship team chooses from. Once your team knows a song and has learned it, then they'll be able to play it pretty much without practicing. I mean, for the songs that I play, I'm not like sitting there practicing, trying to learn them musically every single week. Why? Because I've been playing them for the past 2-3 years at my church, so I already know them. And if I needed to, I'm not saying that I do this, but if I needed to, I could just play the song on Sunday without practicing. Why? Because I've put in so much time already learning the song. And the same will be true for you as a new worship team member. This is something I tell every new worship team member on my team. I'm like, I know this seems like a lot of work right now, and honestly, we aren't just going to pick songs based on you learning songs. So you're going to have a lot of songs to learn at the beginning. But once you learn these songs, we play the same songs consistently, and you will know them now until forever, until we stop doing them. And so, yes, it seems like a lot of work right now. But put in the work at the beginning. I guarantee you, 6 months in, you will not only know the specific songs, but you will have your process down for learning new songs. You didn't even say what you do. I assume you're a singer, but if you're something else, whatever it is, whatever instrument you play, or if you're a vocalist, you will learn how to learn songs. And not only will you know the songs that you've already learned, but you will know how to learn new songs, and you will do it very quickly because most worship songs are extremely easy to learn, luckily. Now, if you need some specific instruction on how to memorize things, I actually did 2 of what I think are probably some of my favorite videos on the channel. They're about how to memorize chords, if that's applicable to you, and how to memorize lyrics. I go through my complete process. I've been memorizing my music for as long as I can remember on a worship team. Probably for the last 12 years, I've been memorizing music, and I never have a music stand in front of me. I just recently started leading with a confidence monitor, and I don't even look at that most of the time because I have my songs memorized. And I'm not saying that to boast about my ability to do that. I'm saying that it is possible. So if you need help with that, I'll link those 2 videos down in the description below. Also, you said, do you have any recommendations or suggestions to being successful in ushering in the Spirit of God during worship? I would like to redefine what being successful means for you in leading worship, because it seems to me that you're linking being successful with ushering in the Spirit of God, which is not a theology that I hold to. I don't think that worship leaders usher in the Spirit of God. I don't think our worship is efficacious where we sing and things happen in the room. I know that that's a popular theology today. That's not my theology. What do we do when we sing together? We teach and admonish one another with thankfulness in our hearts to God. That's Colossians 3:16. So, to be successful as a worship leader, we don't usher in the Spirit of God. We already have the Spirit of God in us, number one. We are the temple of the living God, and individually, first of all, but when we gather together as a church, we are stones that build the living temple of God. The Spirit dwells with us already, and not only that, but anytime we want, in the Spirit, through Jesus Christ, we can draw near to God the Father. So it's not the worship leader's job to usher in the Spirit of God or the presence of God, because the presence of God and the Spirit of God is not something that shows up in the room whenever we worship together. So what does it mean to be successful when we are a worship leader? We are successful when we point people to the worthiness of God and provide them with the opportunity to respond. I recently stepped into my first worship leader position at a very small church. We are slowly building our worship team, which is exciting. One of the things I'm very passionate about in my choosing of songs and keys is that they are easily sung by all members of the congregation, men, women, and children, meaning the congregation is the main instrument that we cater to when choosing music. Generally, I stick to keys that utilize the notes, middle C to treble C, maybe a step above and below. One of the hurdles we have faced is having a high school girl who wants to join our worship team but is really picky about what key she can and will sing in. Our pastor wants to help her grow in her singing abilities and have her sing, but when she is on the schedule, she often adamantly asks us to change our keys to ranges that are out of the typical range that is congregationally friendly. How do you handle choosing keys for your worship music? And is this a hill you would die on when allowing people to sing on the team? I mean, I am right there with you. That is always my aim. I love how you said it. Would you say the congregation is the main instrument that we cater to when choosing music? Therefore, we should be picking keys that they can sing in. I completely agree with you. That is the point of our worshiping together, is not just that the worship team would sing, but that everybody would be able to sing. And that means picking a key that they can sing in. And I understand that there's a wide range of voices, but actually, scientifically speaking, if you take all the way from bass to tenor to alto to soprano and everything in between, there is an average range that people can sing in, and it is what this person who asked the question just talked about, from C to C. And all of those vocal parts will be able to sing most of the notes in the range from C to C. Some might sing up an octave from the other, but they will fit in that range. So that is a good starting place if we want our congregation to sing. It's not just about the worship leader singing as confidently as they can, and then everybody else will follow along. And I think maybe some of the pushback on this is like from people who serve in larger churches, because if you do serve in a larger church and things are louder there and you have more people singing together, there's more musical energy in the room, then yes, people will probably sing higher because they're singing louder, and then it probably doesn't matter as much. This is why people sing out at concerts with 10,000 people in attendance, no matter what the key is. But for those of us who serve in smaller churches, and maybe this is the perspective that I come from, I think it is super important that we choose keys that people can sing in, because if you're leading worship for a group of 50 people, those 50 people aren't like belting it out at the top of their lungs, and your sound system probably isn't cranked to 9,000 decibels. So what would I do in this situation with the girl on your worship team? First of all, I would realize that there probably is some play in that range, right? Like most modern worship songs, it feels like, are going to stretch that range anyways. So the majority of the song is not going to fit perfectly into that C to C range, because that's only an octave, and a lot of modern worship songs go beyond an octave of notes. And so if that's the case, then I would be asking myself, okay, where do I want the main melody, like the climax of the song, to sit? Usually that's when I try to keep the top note below that top C, or just like hitting middle C. I suspect, because this is my experience before when it comes to girls singing on worship teams, like high school aged girls, usually they aren't concerned, in my experience, with going too low. They're concerned with going too high. And so that very rule actually protects them from going too high, because I think most of the time that like people who struggle to sing higher, if they're female, they can't sing higher than a middle C because they haven't developed their head voice yet. Or I guess, I mean, it really could be the opposite, and they haven't developed their chest voice yet as well, and so that maybe they can't go lower. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But in my experience, it's been that they haven't developed their head voice yet, and so they can't go above that middle C. So you're actually helping them in that case. And you didn't say in your question whether it was too high or too low. But my point is, I would just realize that there's going to be some play in the song anyways. So if they want like a song dropped down a couple steps or a couple half steps, I wouldn't drop it down like, a bunch just for them if they're gonna be singing like a low E note all the time. But if they are an underdeveloped singer, that probably means they can't sing as wide of a range that you would hope that they will be able to eventually. And so my advice is just let them lead with grace, constantly teach them the principle that, hey, we're trying to pick songs that are friendly for our congregation. It's not about us sounding as amazing as we can sound. It's about us leading our church well. And I have preached that to my team over and over again. And when people come to me now about song keys, they usually preface it with, listen, like I know that we're trying to pick song keys for the church to sing in, the congregation to sing in. And so if this doesn't work, I'm okay with it. But I'm just struggling to hit, usually it's like I'm struggling to hit that top note. And I'm like, well, if you're struggling to hit that top note, the other people in the church are probably struggling to hit the top note too. So let's bring it down. And since this song is bigger than an octave, since the range is bigger than an octave, let's have the low energy verses be down further than they should be. But whenever we hit that climax, you can sing it at the top of your range, and we'll probably be at that middle C, which is where we're trying to aim at anyways. So lead with grace. Keep teaching them the principle behind we want the entire church to sing, but then work with them and understand that there's probably a little bit more room to play with than you think there is too. Not every song is going to fit perfectly between C to C. Now, if you want to improve your worship leading, I put together a free audio training called 5 Tips to Instantly Improve Your Worship Leading. In that audio training, I've got 5 simple tips that you can implement this Sunday that will instantly improve your worship leading. They aren't hard to do. You just have to make the conscious effort to do them, and you will level up your worship leading. So check that free audio training out down in the description below. Other than that, thanks so much for joining me. Till I see you in the next video, keep leading worship well.